Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sunday live show. Good that you're here. We have some good pictures to go through. I know I kind of dropped the ball last time, didn't have many ready to go. Today we've got some good pictures. We'll show you that in a second. Before we get to your questions and do all of that, don't forget to sign up at carcostcanada.com, carcostcanada.com, and become an expert member. All you do is type in Motormouth. I just got a notification the live show's on. Okay, good, that worked. That use the promo code Motormouth. That's the name of the channel. You become an expert member and it unlocks extra searches. Excuse me. I'm going to sip of my tea here. Okay, so Car Cost Canada is going to be important as we go through the year and into the fall with the high interest rates and maybe a slowdown for some brands, not all brands, in terms of sales, and the inventory starts to build up. That's when you're going to start to see incentives. I just saw an ad on YouTube today for Ford, and they're promoting lock in the incentive today until the car is delivered. Excuse me, I had a tickle. So basically, you're locking in whatever the rate is that they're offering today. And they had a low interest rate, which is actually quite a bit of money saved. So if you can get an incentive locked in at, say, 2.9% or 3.9%, when the truck or the car comes, you're going to be paying that rate and maybe not a higher rate. So these are the sorts of incentives that are going to be coming down the road. Okay, so Zach at motormouth.ca is the email. ZACK at motormouth.ca or ZACK at motormouth.ca if you're from the US. And we get your pictures and we post them here on the live show. And the first one is, this is from New Zealand. This is a vehicle we don't get in North America. This comes from Carl. He says attached is the Ford Everest Platinum. I got it back in January. It's based on the Ford Ranger. The model has, I love this, a 3-liter V6 diesel, which was previously used in the Ford F-150. So that is cool. So you're talking about an SUV that's based on the Ranger platform. So that's, I guess that would be, kind of be like our Bronco, right? The Bronco's based on the Ranger platform, but with a 3-liter diesel. I already spilt my tea. With a 3-liter diesel, that diesel engine is, that's the quietest diesel I've ever driven. It's just really well done. So very cool vehicle. Thanks for sharing that. That's from New Zealand. The next one, now we had a picture of this vehicle on before, and this is from Daniel, and he said, he looked at the video we did of the new 2024 Atlas, and he's disappointed. He said the VR6 engine will be a legend for a few years. So that's his cross coupe or sport, and of course with the VR6 engine. So he's keeping that one. All right, the next one is, we've done that one. The next one is, oh, I love Porsches. You know me, I love Porsches. This is from Mike in New Jersey. Here's my 2000 986 Boxster 2.7 with upgraded headlamps. So the headlamps were very controversial at the time. They called them the frying egg. So those look less frying eggy. And actually, I've come around initially with the 996 and the early Boxsters with those headlamps. I didn't love them, but now I see them and I think, you know, they're actually kind of cool. All right, this is from Evan, who's been a long time supporter of the channel. Evan Katz, who lives in New York, and he got rid of his, where is it here? He got rid of his Santa Cruz, his Hyundai Santa Cruz, so that's the pickup truck, for a 2023 white silver metallic Countryman All 4S. And he says he doesn't miss the Santa Cruz and loving the Mini. This is a picture from Mexico. Mark sent this in from a car show on the Melocana Boardwalk. So that's nice. Love the van. That's the great thing when you go to Mexico. You see all these cool old Volkswagen Beetles that were used for taxis. I'd love to get one and bring it up. Now here's a real Canadian picture for you. This is a Mitsubishi Mirage parked in front of Tim Hortons getting coffee. This is from Omer. Sent a picture in from Ottawa. Nothing gets more Canadian than stopping for a coffee at Tim Hortons. He says, the Mirage is awesome in the snow, and I agree with you. No need for 4x4. All you need is a good set of winter tires. You can see the nice set of winter tires. It's true. You know, and the other thing about driving in the snow is it's up here. It's the gray matter, driving sensibly to the conditions with a good set of winter tires. Okay, once again, Zach@motormouth.ca if you want to get a picture on the live show. Okay, I think we have a super chat already. Super chats are great. First of all, it supports the channel. We appreciate it. Helps pay for this expensive editing gear and cameras and all that stuff. And also, it highlights for me that you just have to have your question answered. So that's great. Let's do a super chat. I think we have one here from Jerome. Let me find it. Where did it go? Here's Mr. Levette Boucher. He says, congrats on the new sponsor. Violently stares at Zach so he gets the cue to make it a shameless promotion. I'm not sure what that means, but anyway, yeah, we have Carmigo has come on for 4 videos, so they're not a permanent sponsor, but yeah, it would be great if they did more videos with us. We like sponsorship on the channel, and Carmigo has been on the last couple. And Jerome, by the way, who lives in Quebec, went and test drove the all-new Prius and loved it and ordered one and canceled his order for a RAV4 hybrid. The question I have is how long is it going to take to get that Prius? And here he says, hit the like button and help out the channel. Also, thank you for doing the super chat, which definitely helps. Okay, let's get into the questions. Anything I missed? Oh yeah, what's coming up this week? So on Tuesday, we're going to do a comparison between the Prius that Jerome just ordered and the Corolla hybrid, which will be kind of interesting because the Prius has moved up market and the Corolla has now got way more equipment. We just put a video out on that this past week. A lot of interest in that car. Also on Wednesday, we're going to have the Volvo XC40 with the new B line of engines. They used to be T, now they're B. Really not much difference. And on the weekend, there is a special video. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a special video that we're going to drop. Okay. Here's Mac. GM has been cranking out the Ultium vehicles at a very slow rate. Then the slowdown of the next LG battery plant, the rumor that GM is considering changing from pouch to cylindrical cells. What is going on? Well, first of all, the one thing you've got to know about the Ultium platform is they're only making one car, and right now that's the Lyric, with the Chevrolet Equinox and Blazer to come later in the year. So any kind of slowdown or change in production we'll have to watch once those 2 vehicles have been launched. And you're right, there is chatter, and General Motors has said not only are they looking at, see, the great thing about the Ultium platform that they built is it's capable of taking different kinds of battery architecture. So you're talking about the cylindrical kind, and they also can take a different chemistry. So General Motors is looking at different kinds of chemistry that will fit in that battery pack, which is scalable for smaller, large vehicles. And the real reason they're looking at that is they're maybe looking for maybe less energy density, but at a much lower cost for mainline vehicles. So they're looking at vehicles that are going to be much cheaper to make, but they might not have the density and the capability. But some people, I think a lot of people would be interested in like maybe a little hatchback or sedan that could run around that might not get 200 miles or roughly 400 kilometers of range, but might get like 150 or 100 miles. Which for some people will be fine. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. But there's a lot of stuff circulating around that. Sanjeev, not first this time, but first most weeks. Do you think Toyota making a 2024 Toyota Tacoma? Well, there's lots of speculation about the next Tacoma, and there is one in the works. We have to wait and see. I have some good news. The new 2023 GMC Canyon coming to Canada in the spring. Can you make a Mercedes AMG SL63 video? Well, we'll see if we can get our hands on that. I want to be green and help the environment, but I'm now retired. I only drive rarely. The car is parked for weeks at a time. With that in mind, should I make my next car a gas model or hybrid? Well, if you're barely driving the car you've got that's barely being driven is the greenest car you have. Because if you go and buy a new car, whether it's a hybrid or a plug-in or an electric, they have to make a new car. You know, the thing that shows up at the dealership and then you sign the papers for and you drive away has a carbon impact. They have to mine the materials. They have to manufacture, often have to ship them from other parts of the world, have to truck them to your dealership. And sure, the use cycles is what is the most carbon intensive. That's putting gas in it. But if you're barely driving your car, you're retired, the best thing you can do for the environment is continue doing what you're doing. Drive as little as you can and keep the car you've got. That's exactly what you should do. Because buying a new car is making a new car, which isn't green. KPKP. A Mazda dealership manager in Surrey stated that boneheads that mark up a car, like the Honda Type R, to 80,000 plus and is considered used, will not sell. Honda will say, car not selling, let's discontinue. Well, there's a big disconnect between the new car sales and the used car sales. Honda doesn't care. Once the car's sold and in the marketplace, it's on its own. Honda only cares about new cars. So the transaction price of the new car is what they're concerned about. Listen, you can't get a Type R. So there's no shortage of people that want to buy them. KP, one more question. Mazda CX-50 hybrid when available, or RAV4 trail hybrid, pros, cons? I don't know. We don't know what the hybrid system is. That's the whole thing. We have to wait and see. So there's the plug-in that we know about for the CX-90. So that's the 2.5 liter hybrid, with the extended range. But we have to wait and see what they do for the CX-50. Is it going to be? It's probably going to be a 2.5 hybrid system. Is it going to be the same as Toyotas, or similar? We have to wait until we find out. So until we know, we don't know. Okay, we have 270 on board right now, 280. That jumped quickly. If you guys could smash the thumbs up, that's very nice of you. We'll remind you again later. Once again, if you have to get a question answered, you can always do a super chat. MB10 in Montreal bought a 23 Sportage hybrid. The manual says first maintenance after 8,000 in winter climates. They started getting a pop-up warning to service at 6,000. Dealership set it on purpose. Why? I don't think the dealership set it on purpose. What I would do is contact a dealer and ask them why the discrepancy. One thing you have to remember about the very first service for a car, I only found this out from a master technician. A Porsche master technician told me this. A lot of people want to change the oil in their car like after 1,000 or 2,000 miles or kilometers. There might be all this old folklore, or there might be some particles or stuff in the engine. You want to clean that out. And he told me, he found out from the engineers, they actually put an additive in the oil when the car is brand new, and it has a little bit of micro abrasiveness on purpose, so that the pistons in the cylinders, the piston and the cylinder have to marry to each other. They has to seat in there, and you need a little bit of friction in order for the piston to seat in the cylinder and the walls, and they put that in intentionally. And he was told by the manufacturer, don't take the first oil out because we put it in there for a reason. So you probably are fine to just go by what the manual says. You might want to find out why the check engine light came on, or the service reminder. I don't think they can program that 2,000 kilometers in advance. I'm not sure. Curious your thoughts on the X5. Currently own a 22 X5 and not sure 24 is worth the upgrade. Concerned ID8 is not as intuitive ID7, never mind the elimination of the HVAC buttons. Don't like this trend in BMW. I totally agree with you. So the iDrive system, up until the iDrive 7, had improved every single iteration to it being the best luxury interface for the infotainment system. So you have the screen, you have a little dial here, you can operate all the controls, you can even use the touch screen. Now some COVID cars, they removed the touchscreen capability because of chip shortages, but most were supposed to have that. And I love it. I think it's just one of the best systems. Now BMW is moving to this new system where the screen is there, got rid of the controller. They're just following what Mercedes is doing. Everything is touch sensitive and getting rid of buttons. The head of BMW interior design even says he thinks we're at peak screen. And there's a movement with some brands to continue to keep hard physical keys, which I love. So having used the new BMW interface, I prefer the one that you have. So ride it out for a little bit longer. The other thing is BMW is moving to a Google back end, similar to what Volvo did. So this is not Android Auto. It's got another name. It's the Google. Basically, it's the back end software system is developed by Google. So you can have much better integration of apps and things like that. Searchability is great. Voice functions are great. I have an Android phone, and the voice functionality is superior on Google. So we're going to have to wait and see, but that's the trend, and it's a trend I'm not loving. Same thing at Mercedes. They're getting rid of their controller. They're going to just touchscreen. I think it's foolish myself. I think that some hard keys are certainly welcome, especially in places where you have to wear gloves all the time, right? All right. With Canada banning sales of gasoline vehicles by 2035, do you think this is realistic? Could this be amended to say 50% new vehicles must be electric, or push it back? I don't think we're going to get to 100% electric by 2035. I think it's fool's gold. It's not going to happen. We don't have the infrastructure, and we certainly don't have the plan in place for the infrastructure. I'm not hearing anything from government on really improving the infrastructure around, first of all, charging for cars, and then the energy supply that we're going to need to power all of these cars. I'm hearing nothing from governments on that. It's like they're going to make it up as they go along. Then you get into the fact that cars are becoming so much more expensive, and electric cars are really expensive. When you have every car company in the world competing for natural resources to make batteries, whether it's lithium or copper or whatever goes into their battery chemistry, all of these other companies are competing for that. So if you think that cars are expensive now and you start pushing this forward, this agenda, I don't think that we're going to have, are cars just going to be the plaything for wealthy people? Other thing is, you got to remember, sure, they can say that all new cars have to be electrified in some way by 2035, and I think that's probably what will happen. It won't be full EV. It'll be electrified in some way. So you could have 100% electrified fleet, meaning either hybrid, plug-in, or full EV. So hybrids would definitely help a lot. In my opinion, that should be the agenda right now, is promoting hybrid technology, because it's not expensive for people to buy over an internal combustion engine. It's a very small price premium. The gateway to ownership is very low, and will reduce emissions the most by having more people driving hybrids than having a small percentage of people driving just nothing but pure EVs. So if you could get everybody reducing their emissions, would be much better than having just a small percentage. Anyway, that's my thought on it. It's easy to make announcements. It's easy to say this is what we're going to do. It's much harder to get into the actual nuts and bolts of it. And then what are we going to do? We have all of these incentives in place. Are we just going to buy everybody a car? I mean, we can't keep this up. We can't keep giving people thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars off cars for personal transportation. That's not doing the general population any good. If we had all of that money, the other thing is you can't buy a car with a plug today. They're just back ordered, right? And that's mostly because of high fuel prices. People are looking to get another vehicle that's better on fuel because gasoline is so high. So if we had all of that money that was going into rebates actually going into planning for infrastructure and building the infrastructure, well, we might actually be somewhere. Then you've got a plan for the energy grid that's going to supply it. I'm not hearing that from anybody. Look at California in the summer. They asked people not to plug in their electric cars because they didn't have enough energy. This past, when was it? What month was it? It doesn't really matter what month it was. Switzerland had the same thing. They said, don't plug your electric car in. We have an issue with energy. Until we get that sorted, I think it's a bit of a pipe dream. It could happen, but I just don't think in the hands of politicians it's going to happen. Hey, Zach, in your opinion, with the same configuration, do you think an RX 350 worth the price difference between an NX 350? Well, it's a much more substantial car, right? So it's bigger. It's quite a bit bigger. Um, so you have to really do a gut check on this. Do you really need all that space? The NX is fine. It isn't huge in the back seat or the cargo area, but you know what? That's the category of vehicle that most people buy. Most people buy the compact class, and it clearly is in the compact class. So if you could get by with a RAV4 or you know, a Nissan Rogue sized vehicle, you could definitely get by with an NX because that's really the size that you're after. The RX is quite a bit bigger. That's a mid-size luxury SUV that would traditionally have competed with like the Grand Cherokee, vehicles of that size. So you probably would be fine, but you have to answer that question. Great review of the Ford F-150 Lightning. Zach and Andrea can only dream. Interestingly, after we recorded the video and edited it, Ford announced that they've delayed production of the vehicle by yet another week because of a fire situation they had near the factory. So with the battery pack, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Well, think about what happened with General Motors and the Bolt and how many billions of dollars they had to spend in order to rectify that. So Ford doesn't want to get in that situation because F-150, that's popular. Looking for a subcompact SUV around $30,000. We're a family of four. What options you recommend to look at? So subcompact SUV for around $30,000. The biggest bang for your buck, now I'm wondering if it's Canadian or US dollars, but the biggest bang for your buck in terms of price and size and features is the Kia Seltos. It just really is the one to beat in that category because it's quite roomy. You can easily get by with it. The other one that is actually quite roomy and you could easily get it instead of a compact SUV is the Volkswagen Taos. Not sure that's going to hit the 30,000 mark, but the Seltos certainly would. How does the Porsche 2.9 V6 compare to the B58 BMW? Well, BMW is an inline six, and the 2.9 V6 is a V6, and it has a center-mounted turbo unit, similar to what's an Audi developed engine. With the base engine, the Cayenne, for example, it's a single turbo. Then when you go to the S, it's a twin turbo. So I'm not sure. If I was going to buy a base model Cayenne versus a base model like X5, the X5 for sure is the better engine. Even on paper, they have the same output roughly, but the BMW is, that inline six-cylinder is definitely the one to beat. I pre-ordered a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid LE back in December 2022, but until now, still waiting for the car. That's the problem. You've got like the most popular family vehicle, and everybody wants a hybrid because of high fuel prices. So I would just work with your dealer and wait it out and see what they say. I'm not sure I can add anything other than you got to wait. And once you get it, you'll be happy. It's a very good vehicle. Here's Ed. Good evening from Nova Scotia. Well, hello, hello. Nice to have somebody. You're up a little later than here. It's not that late yet, but definitely later on the West Coast. Did you find eco-friendly switching an EV car in less than 5 years? Do you find eco-friendly switching an EV car in less than 5 years? I'm not sure what that means, Sam. Jessica says hello. Nice to see you here. Jordan says hi. McGravy, is that McGreevy? Says, love your reviews, thank you. Tech Pro says, how long do you plan to keep your Cayenne for? Well, we have two Cayennes. We have a Cayenne diesel, which was the very last year of production, in even one of the very last months of production. So we bought that car new when it was 2 years old. So it was shipped here to Canada, to North America, and then was stored by the dealer for over 2 years until they did the diesel software update for it. And once that was cleared for sale, we bought it. So we're really in a very unique situation because, first of all, 2016 Cayenne diesels, there's not many around. They only made them for about 2 months, 2 or 3 months. Most of them are 2015 and earlier. And then because our car was never registered before we got it, we were the first owners, technically new. That's when they punched the warranty card. So the extended Dieselgate warranty is 10 years on all of the major components, the engine and the fuel line and all that, and the emissions. So our warranty is, we're not even halfway through that 10-year warranty. So we're going to keep the car for the long haul. You will never, ever buy another diesel mid-size SUV. They're just not available. And the prices of these things have skyrocketed. There's one that just went on Bring a Trailer for Bring a Trailer with the same mileage as ours, same color as ours in the United States. And it's sold as a 5-year-old vehicle for more than we paid for ours. So they have a cult following, and the people who want them want them. So that one we're keeping. And then we have a Cayenne GTS with a manual transmission. That's another cult favorite. So right now we're not selling either of them. So the Cayenne diesel, we're in it for the long haul. Toyota Grand Highlander or Honda Pilot. You know, I gotta say, I'm not picking on you. I'm not sure why you guys ask us about cars we haven't driven yet. Nobody's driven it yet. It's just been shown. We've sat in it. We saw it. But until we actually get a chance to drive it, then we don't know what to say. I mean, people say, well, should I get this or that? It's like, no, well, no one's driven it yet. So let's wait until the car is actually available to drive. I really want a new Tahoe. Is now the time to start looking for deals, or should I wait? Interesting that you bring that up, because General Motors is idling their truck plant. This is for full-size pickups for 2 weeks at one of their major truck plants in the United States. The demand may be starting to roll off a little bit on those trucks, and they're trying to maintain their inventory levels, meaning not have too much inventory at dealerships. Also, the Oshawa assembly just outside Toronto, that is really ramped up in terms of vehicle production, also for full-size trucks. So General Motors, rightly so, targeted a massive backlog for full-size trucks over the last year with their components. And also, what's the thing about full-size trucks that General Motors benefits from? It's the largest revenue source for them. They make more per vehicle on those than anything else. Now, I don't know if that has spilled over to like the Tahoe and the Suburban and what have you, but I think that if you want a new Tahoe, you should keep an eye out on the marketplace over the next 6 months. I truly believe, in my gut, what I think is going to happen is, now, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think this fall is really going to be an interesting time for the auto industry as new models come out. Is there going to be discounts on 2023s as the 2024s come? Is the market going to slow down? We ran into a dealer we were on a flight from Toronto to Toronto a couple weeks ago and ran into a dealer. And I asked him, how's it going? And he says, we're seeing no slowdown yet. But with these elevated interest rates, I think it's got to have effect sometime. And that's the goal of the high interest rates, is to roll off demand. So if it's not rolling off demand, that's the thing. You could see interest rates go up even higher. Jessica is saying, hit the like button. That would be awesome. Last week, by the way, we had 500 people on the live show, which is the first time we ever cracked 500. And we had about the same number that watched it through the week, which is about 10,000. But actually here on the live show, last week was a new record. Hey, Zach, what's going on with Honda Live in Montreal? I went last week. I don't know what Honda Live is in Montreal. I'm not sure. I don't live in Montreal. MTB Mike, hi Zach, hello back. Hey Zach, I'm looking at a Mazda 3 Turbo hatchback or WRX. Which would I like the most? Need all-wheel drive and want a bit of fun. If I was going to choose between the Mazda 3 hatch and the WRX, I would choose the WRX. Now, you can run either of them on regular gas, but they're meant to be driven on premium gas. I just think the WRX is really well done. Now, I should say, that's if you're driving manual, okay? if you're driving automatic, then it would be the Mazda. Even though the WRX, high torque, continuously variable transmission is actually pretty good. If it's manual transmission, it's WRX. If it's automatic, I'd probably go with the Mazda. I just think that WRX is really kind of neat. It's hard on gas though. If you look at the posted fuel economy for it, not that good, and it needs premium gas. But that's the price of fun. Here's Richard. I'm leaning towards the CX-70 PHEV. Will it be worth the wait? Well, Richard, we don't get... Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of the CX-60. We don't get the CX-60. We have to wait until we find out, same thing again, what exactly is being offered by Mazda when it comes to the CX-70. Don't have a crystal ball. There's speculation, but we'll have to wait until we actually find out what it is. Do you think the 18 2.7 Lincoln Continental that was manufactured, 2 of 19? I don't know. If there's only 19 of them made, I don't know much about that. Sorry. Hey Zach, have you seen reports of the new Cayenne Refresh? Adopted the Taycan interior, more screens, and shifter moved to the dash. Seems like a huge step backwards, especially the shifter. Well, this is a trend we've seen from Porsche over the last few years, moving away from physical buttons to screens. They have a lot of this shiny, hard plastic. The interiors are starting to look a little bit down market especially for the price. So, like we were just talking about our Cayenne, even though the screen is small, and it is small compared to today's, I would take that any day over not having the buttons. It's just a trend. And we're seeing it with the German manufacturers. They all seem to be going to this buttonless void of an interior. Mercedes is doing it. Audi did it, several years ago with the MMI touch system. BMW is now going with the iDrive 9 system. But one thing I've noticed is things seem to go in cycles, right? So this is the current batch. The problem is they'll be current for like 7 years because German car brands keep basically the same design for about 7 years. The good news is the next Cayenne that's going to be, it's a facelifted product that's coming for this fall. The S model is going to be the collectible one, and the GTS, because you get the 4-liter twin turbo V8. And that's back, replacing the V6 that was in the S before. Now that 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 is a special engine, but the V8 is going to be pretty neat. Any news on the Sportage or Sportage availability in Canada? That's the PHEV. Kia seems to be completely putting aside the Canadian market. Barely any vehicle are allocated up here. I listen. You got to remember, especially with the Korean brands, is often the vehicles are made in one factory for a worldwide audience, and Canada will get its share, the U.S. will get its share, but I'm not sure there's any favoritism going on one way or the other. It's the same with anything. Like I said earlier, with a plug, there's high demand. Fuel prices are high. People are looking for a way to save at the pumps when they get a new car. So it's a great product. Sit and wait. That's the best thing I can say. Hey Zach, can Ford Escape Hybrid compete with RAV4 Hybrid? Just thinking about availability at dealers in Vancouver. Well, the Ford Escape Hybrid is actually more fuel efficient than the RAV4 Hybrid. It is the hybrid to beat. The actual posted fuel economy numbers are better than the RAV4. And both of them have an eCVT, unlike a lot of the other hybrids that have, like the Hyundai and Kia models, have a 6-speed automatic transmission, turbocharged engines. So they're good hybrids, they're just not as efficient. So the Escape, I'm a big fan of. It just got a facelift for 2023. So maybe when you're at the dealer, make sure you're not buying a 2022. Because 2023 got new headlamps, new tail lamps, new front and rear bumper, new head unit, bigger screen available. So that would be the one I would go for. Just so you're future-proofing it, you're getting the latest version. Every time I drive an Escape, I'm always pleased when I drive it. I think they do a very good job with it. And the quality scores have come up over the last few years since they introduced the the latest model. The quality scores have come up. Somebody just said the Escape is front wheel drive. No, that's the PHEV is front wheel drive. The hybrid is all wheel drive. The Escape. Oh, we do have some super chats here. I don't know what's going on with this. Something funky going on. All right, let me get to the super chats. Here's Jessica. Hey, Zach. I just filed for bankruptcy. Well, that's too bad. What advice can you give on what type of car and price I should look for to be considered a good deal under the unique circumstances? Thank you. Listen, you want to keep, obviously, your costs down. I'm not sure what the backstory is on this. I'm not sure about the availability of credit after you file. So what I would suggest is you're really best to keep it simple, right? So buy maybe even a good used Toyota Corolla or Honda Civic, right? Basic transportation, good basic transportation. We have a Honda Civic. It's a great car. It's got Apple and Android. It's got heated seats, got a sunroof, it's got forward collision warning, and it's used. It's a 2017. So keep it simple, get your credit back in line, and then when you're in a better footing, upgrade to maybe something a little better. But you'd be surprised. They're actually very good cars. 2014 Audi Q5 TDI, 270,000 kilometers. Audi service. Love the engine and just regular maintenance. Nothing new turns my crank. And any money I should consider. Not sure what you mean by. I'm not sure if you're asking, is this car for sale or do you own it? So the Audi Q5 and our Porsche Cayenne have the same engine. Different transmission though. From what I understand is the transmission in the Q5, it's not like it's grossly problematic, but it's not as easily serviced as the Porsche Cayenne ASIN transmission, the Japanese, basically Toyota derived transmission. So I'm not sure, are you buying the car or you own the car? Listen, anytime you can get your hands on a great used TDI, then it's not a bad thing. That's high mileage, even for a diesel. So if you're buying it, make sure you get it checked. Get them to check the transmission. Drive it. See if you notice any irregularities. Please get it inspected. Most engines are being replaced with turbo engines with 2 fewer cylinders for miles per gallon. Are there downsides to this? Is it short-sighted? Well, yeah, you could say easily that you've got a lot of stress for a smaller engine that's turbocharged. We're seeing now we've gone from 4-cylinder 2-liter turbos to 1.5-liter 3-cylinder turbos. That's what you get in the Ford Escape regular gas model. That's what you get in the new Nissan Rogue. So, your point is well taken. If it's something that you're worried about and you don't want to have an engine that could be highly stressed over a long period of time, then shop with something else that's not turbocharged, naturally aspirated. Like if you get a regular Toyota RAV4 with a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated, good old 8-speed automatic transmission, you maintain that, it'll run for a long, long time. And if you're worried about a small engine that's turbocharged, steer clear of them. You kind of answer your own question there. If you're concerned about it, don't buy it. And then as they're out in the marketplace, you can see how reliable they've been. I'm not sure what's going on with this. Why? Oh, I know why. I know what's going on. Oh, that's not right. Sorry, guys. Usually I get an alert here that my super chats are on. I'm just going to do something. Hang on a second. There it is. That's what it is. I couldn't see it before. I apologize for all these super chats that I have not been ignoring them. I just wasn't seeing them. So now that I see them, I'm going to go back through and make sure I get to them. So I apologize for that. It looks like I've missed quite a few of them. All right, here we go. Now I should start to get my notifications. Okay, we did Jerome's. The next super chat we go to is... I feel bad because you guys have spent the cash. All right, here we go. We are looking to buy a compact luxury SUV. We kind of like the GV70 and the Q5. Silent cabin is important to us. Which one would you recommend? Thanks. Silent cabin. I would say probably the GV70 is more premium feeling on the inside. I think the cabin is nicer. If it comes down to actual audio sound, how much wind and road noise there is, that's something for you to try. Try them both and see which one you like. But just as a sort of a luxury experience, the Genesis is going to have more of that. The Q5 is a great all-rounder. There's no question about it. But I wouldn't call it luxurious. It's a bit more utilitarian on the inside. So that's just from aesthetics and materials. Works well, just not that fancy. The GV70 is going to definitely have more of a luxury experience. When it comes to the audio, how much sound there is on the inside, this is all from memory, so I really can't give you a definitive answer. Please try them. And please don't buy a car unless you actually get a chance to drive it. That's some good advice too. Here's another super chat I missed. Hey Zach, what are your thoughts on the Camry TRD? It's a sports sedan or just a regular Camry made to look like a sports sedan? It's a regular Camry made to look like a sports sedan. That's got to be one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, is the TRD Camry. It's like the answer to the question nobody was asking. Unless you get a killer deal on it. The one I like is the good old SE. That's the one I like. Here's a super chat from local. What cars do you and Andrea currently own? I think we went through that already. Cayenne Diesel, Cayenne GTS manual, and a Honda Civic. So we got to that one. My T-Bird from Vancouver Island. For the Edmunds reliability score, is there a ratio for mechanical versus electrical problems? I'm not sure the way Edmunds does their quality scores. I would suggest that J.D. Power is what I know the most. All they do is they report the data and the returns to dealerships. A lot of them are electronic, and that's the communication system, Bluetooth, voice commands. So a lot of issues that are popping up in modern cars because they're so tech heavy are the faults that show up the most. So I'm not sure how Edmunds scores their or weights their report, but if you're looking at J.D. Power, for example, it's just a direct correlation of the number of problems that come back. So a lot of cars come back to the dealership for connectivity issues, not because the transmission fell or the engine blew up. It's silly software stuff. That's the biggest bugaboo. Here's Jerome again with another super chat. He's answering the thing about electrified vehicles by 2035. Not necessarily fully electric label is key here. That's what I think. I think when you say we're going to have 100% electric by 2035, that gives governments wiggle room to classify something as electrified when it's mildly electrified. So a hybrid hopefully would qualify, a plug-in hybrid, and of course full battery electric vehicles. I really do believe that the emphasis should be on hybrids, especially in light of the costs. For the average working person, electric cars are nothing but fantasy at this point. And yeah, you could say, okay, you can get a Chevy Bolt, and with the government rebates, it becomes, a fairly reasonably priced vehicle. Same thing with a vehicle like the Kia Niro EV. Well, that's true, but that's not replacing what most people buy, which is a family compact SUV. And until we can get to the point, because that's what people want. So somebody's going to go and buy a compact SUV, they're going to go and buy the best they can for the amount of money they have to spend each month. And often that will be like a Nissan Rogue or a RAV4 or something like that. So wouldn't it be better just to move them into a hybrid version of that to reduce emissions by 30%? That's what people really want. More super chats. Boy, you guys are spoiling me. I feel bad that I missed these earlier. Here's Donnie K. Okay, we did that one about the Audi. So yeah, Donnie, maybe right below, I'm confused about whether you own the car or you're actually wanting to buy the car with the Audi TDI. I don't see you written again. Okay. I apologize. Hey, I just noticed we're over 500 people on the live show again, 2 weeks in a row. Awesome. So if you guys could smash the thumbs up button, I think it helps. That's what everybody says. It helps. So if you could help, that would be great. Okay, we're back on track now. I got all the super chats out of the way. So I apologize for missing those earlier. All right, where are we again? Got to go back to the top. Okay, apologize. I got to figure my way around here. Okay, here we go. Picking up an Explorer 2 from the authorized dealer on Tuesday. Excited to be growing my collection. There you go. Explorer 2. Make sure you send a picture. If there's no picture, it never happened. How much do you think the Grand Highlander will be? Well, that's an interesting question. So you got to remember, they need room on the upper end when they develop the Grand Highlander into the 3-row Lexus. Okay, so Lexus is going to be making a 3-row SUV. They used to have the RXL, which was a huge failure. Terrible. In my opinion. So when the new RX came out, they said, we're not doing an RXL, the long one, any longer. We're going to come out with a dedicated 3-row SUV. So is that going to be the regular Highlander made into an Lexus? I think it's going to be the Grand Highlander made into a Lexus. So on the high end, they still have to have room to package and price it as a Lexus, with more features and a nicer interior and different design. So they have to have it as a premium over top of the regular Highlander. I think it's going to compete probably, if you look at those expensive models of the Telluride and Palisade, and even the Grand, not the Grand Highlander, the Grand Cherokee, long wheelbase version, I think that's where you're going to see it. So those numbers on the top of my head, I don't have them, but I think that's the snack bracket it's going to be competing in. Hey Zach, was Inda last week looking at a 2023 Sport hatch, told 6 months to a year to get a manual. If I can get it, and on top of that price, the same as both the CVT and manual. Oh, okay. I think we're talking about the question about the Mazda hatchback versus the WRX. So he's saying he was in and he could get the Sport hatch, was told 6 month wait for the manual. I would listen. If you're wanting a sporty, fun car, and wait for the manual. Don't buy a CVT or an automatic just because you can get it, because you'll never be happy. I got a story. I have a neighbor of ours who wanted a 911. Wanted a 911. What did he want? He wanted a 911 with a manual transmission. The right way to buy a 911. A Porsche 911 with a manual transmission. Impatient. What did he do? He went and bought a 911 with a PDK, with an automatic transmission. Well, he's had it for 5 years. Every time I run into him, I wish I'd bought the manual. Hello? Buy what you want. So don't buy just because it's available. Buy it because it's the right one. Listen, 6 months seems like a long time, but it goes by pretty quick. Highlanders right now are some of the most stolen, and same goes with pickup trucks. This is a regional thing. I'm hearing all these crazy stories of people getting SUVs stolen in Eastern Canada, and out here we don't. I mean, it does happen, but I'm not hearing like this major problem you have in other parts of the country. Here's Jake. Love your show. I was just wondering what your personal idea ideas on the Santa Cruz. I know you all have done a video on a while back. I love it. I think it's great. My only issue with it, unlike the United States, it's only sold really as the top trim in the Canadian market. In the US, there's many more different trims. Now that opens up a whole different world for you if you're in the United States. So yeah, so if you can get it and you can get it cheaper, if there's a cheaper trim, if price is an issue, then it's a hell of a fun vehicle. I still prefer the Maverick. And you know, one of the best selling features for the Honda Ridgeline was the introduction of the Maverick and the introduction of the Santa Cruz. And people are thinking, hey, I kind of like the idea of having a small unibody, car-based pickup truck that I can drive and use as a family vehicle and then go to the dump once in a while. You know what? The Honda Ridgeline, and when you actually start looking at what you get with it compared to the Santa Cruz and even the Maverick, you get a lot more truck for your money and bigger with a V6 engine. I really do like the new Ridgeline. I think it's been the best ad for that product is the introduction of these others. If I had to choose today, if I could get one, it would be the Maverick Hybrid. I just want a cheap and fun little pickup truck. More super chats. Thank you. This is from Level 70. Hi, Zach. Could I get your expert opinion on the Ford Edge as a potential vehicle to buy? I got no... Listen, I've been hearing the stories of the demise of the Ford Edge, that it was being canceled. The Ford Edge plant in Oakville is, from what I understand, is going to be retooled or is being retooled, which is where it was made. So my only worry is that if that does actually come to pass, which I thought was going to happen, it could be a bit of an orphaned car. Nothing wrong with the car. It's been in production for a long time. It's a bit dated in terms of design and interior compared to others. But the thing is, in that class of vehicle, there's really not that many vehicles. So it's a mid-size, two-row SUV. So the Grand Cherokee was a direct competitor to that, but the latest Grand Cherokee, they made it a lot bigger. You have the Nissan Murano. That's another one that competes in the two-row mid-size SUV category. I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head. There's not that many around. So the nice thing about the Edge is it's kind of a unique size, where you have a large mid-size SUV that's just 2 rows, not 3 rows. You don't have to go to an Explorer. You can go with the Edge. It actually handles quite well. It's based on the old Volvo S90 platform from when Ford used to own Volvo. It's an old platform, but a very good platform, and is available and was available with a number of different engines, even including high horsepower EcoBoost engines. So I'm not sure what to say other than it's been around a long time. And my only worry is that if it is official that the Edge is going away, which I thought it was, it could be a little bit orphaned in the marketplace, unless they bring out a new Edge. Another super chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Okay. AP is saying, the Ford Edge is canceled. I guess I must have said something really off color. I'm not sure what that is. But I'll have to look into that, because the last I heard it was all going away. But we'll have to wait and see. I can't keep up with every single trim of every single car. I guess that is my job. Okay, let's go back to where we were with the questions. Hey Zach, love our new Mazda CX-50 Turbo GT. That's cool. I like the look of that car. To me, it's got a bit of a wagon vibe, which I'm down with. I like them. It's funny, I was looking at station wagons today on Auto Trader. Not a good idea, Zach. Shouldn't be looking at cars. Stay focused on watches. The problem is I don't know. I was thinking about, I'll tell you what I was looking at. I was looking at BMW E39 540 manual transmissions. Okay, so those were made from around 98 to about 2003. So the BMW 5 Series, which is the E39, the 540 with the V8 engine with a manual transmission. That's what Zach's into. Wasn't a good idea. Because as soon as I went online, I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Thinking of a used 2020 Subaru Ascent. Is the 2021 way better? I'm trying to remember what year. I think between 20 and 21 is probably not much in it. Look what popped up. That was the Ascent behind. I don't know what. When I watch these back, every once in a while I'll sit and watch one of these, and often the car I'm talking about pops up over my shoulder, and that just happened with the Ascent. That was the launch of the Ascent that we drove on Cape Breton. So there you go. So I think between 20 and 21, I don't think there's going to be any difference, because it would have been early, right when the vehicle came out. So there you go. No big difference. Why is luxury car inventory so low right now? Price staying high. Listen, it all comes down to the inventory shortages, the chip shortages. We're not going to see any kind of real slowdown in the car market for a while, which is why I think it's going to be fall. There's a lot of people who ordered cars during COVID and are just waiting for them to be built and delivered. Once a lot of that backlog of orders goes through, there might not be as many new orders as people really start to look at their finances. Of course, luxury cars maybe are a little more resilient than mainline cars, but a lot of luxury cars are leased, and leases are really affected by interest rates. So we're going to have to wait and see. The whole idea of putting interest rates up is to slow everything down. Some brands were starting to see that. I mentioned it earlier with full-size trucks from General Motors, but other brands, you still can't get certain cars. We bought one of the last Subaru Crosstreks with a manual 6-speed. Love it. So does the dealership. They offered to buy it back for more than we paid. That's probably a function of they have no inventory and they're looking for cars. The fact it's a manual might be a plus depending on where you live. Some parts of the world, there's a greater demand for manual transmissions, especially if you live in Eastern Canada and Quebec. They love manuals. The thing is, because now the Crosstrek has been announced that they're no longer selling the manual transmission version, which accounted between 5 and 10% of sales, and it would have been very geographically specific, as I mentioned, like in the province of Quebec, it's going to be more collectible as the years go by. Anything like that, that is unique and different, as time goes by, that's what people are looking for. I'll give you a perfect example. Go online and search for this car, okay? Just hear me out. Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon. So the Volkswagen Golf wagon, All-Track, that was the All-Track version of it, with the 2-liter turbocharged engine and a manual transmission. So what do you have at play here? You have a Volkswagen station wagon with all-wheel drive with the more powerful engine and a manual transmission. Now you go hunting for that, and you look at the prices of them. They're probably more expensive than they were, and they haven't made them for several years now. And as time goes by, that is a car that station wagon nerds like me and manual transmission nerds like me will be like, I want that. And if you have a car that's like that, then people will lose their mind for it in the used market as the years go by. I got a perfect example of that. We have a Porsche Cayenne with a manual transmission. People see it's a manual, they lose their mind. So, you know what? The dealer might be offering you good money now. Look after it. Make sure you maintain it and don't let it get too wrecked or whatever. But when it comes time to sell it, there's going to be another station wagon manual transmission nerd like me that's going to want it. And you'll be able to get good money for it, always. Hey, Zach, any ideas about the Corolla Cross hybrid release? Would it be released at the same time as the new Prius Prime? Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because we are going to be driving both the Corolla Cross hybrid and the Prius Prime soon. That's all I can tell you. So it will be probably spring into summer when they are available at dealerships. Okay, I think we have another super chat down here. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. And we're at a best PHEV under $60,000 Canadian. The problem is you're not going to be able to get one. I think that the best PHEV under 60,000 is probably the Toyota RAV4 Prime, but you're not going to be able to get one. The waiting times on those is astronomically long. So that's your biggest worry, is that you can say, oh, I want this car, it's the best PHEV under $60,000, then you go and try and get one. Good luck. You're not going to be able to get one. I would say that is a good one. The Korean Twins, the Tucson and the Sportage or Sportage, they're really good units, and the new Mitsubishi Outlander. But I think the RAV4 Prime is still the one to beat. Another super chat here. I just wanted to say I love your channel. I love the fact you love the channel and gave us a super chat. So appreciate that. So, oh wait, I think we have another one here. Here's Sam again saying, Dodge Hornet U.S. starting price is under $30,000. That seems steep to me. What are your expectations for the vehicle? Do you think it's a chance of success? Yeah, I think it does actually. I saw it at the Canadian International Auto Show in Toronto. I think it looks good. So it's basically the cousin vehicle to the Alfa Romeo Tonale. So you're going to have probably pretty good handling. They're sharing, a lot of components, and that's a vehicle that is going to be branded probably in Europe as a Fiat. So yeah, we'll have to wait until we get a chance to drive it. Different drivetrains. It's going to have a plug-in available. So I think it's definitely one to watch. But the pricing on it is for the market to decide. If you think that's too expensive, then it won't sell. But I just look at what Stellantis charges for a lot of their vehicles, and I can't believe people pay it, and I hope they don't. But some of their products are very expensive. So we'll have to wait until we drive it. I really want to drive the Tonale. I think that looks really cool. But that's the cousin vehicle of it. And there's obviously going to be some engineering shared there, which means it should actually be pretty fun to drive. Okay, I apologize. We don't always get to everyone's question. I do read them after the fact, so we can't do them all. And thanks to everybody for the super chats. It's very generous of you. And I apologize for missing them earlier. Got to remember to keep a certain window open on my screen, but I'll figure that out. We will be back next week. We do have some travel coming up. We actually have a lot of travel coming up in March, but none really on the weekend from what I can remember. So we should be good for our Sunday chats here. Thanks to everybody. We have almost 520 people on board, 293 thumbs up. Let's see if we can get it to 300 thumbs up. That would be good. If you're on board now, you could smash that for me. Excuse me. That would be great. After this, I got to go and deal with a dead battery on my Cayenne GTS. I had a new radio put in it, and I think it's drained the battery. So I got to go and deal with that right now. Get the booster pack out and start the car and hopefully get that going. Okay? All right, we got over 300 thumbs up. So thanks to everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday evening. We'll chat with you next week, and make sure, one more super chat before we go from local. My brother-in-law owns an E39 M5 manual. You can tell Andrew to put this $5 to the E39 wagon. So if your brother-in-law has an E39 M5 manual, that would be a European car, because that car was never sold here. There's an E39 manual with an M Sport package. That might be the one that you're thinking of. And either way, a hell of a car. Okay, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll see you next time. Bye now.